This was me at peak bulk. I was 85 kilos, I felt fat, bloated, and honestly, I just felt horrible. This is me now at 80 kilos, 5 kilos down, and honestly, I look bigger, I feel better, and I have way better muscle definition. In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how I did this, how I lost the fat, kept the muscle, revealing an aesthetic physique underneath. I coach guys to do exactly this. If you want to work with me one-to-one, click the top link in the description and book a 30-minute call with me to see how I can help you. The first thing we want to consider is our calories. To lose weight, we have to be in a calorie deficit. If we're not, it's simply not possible. When we are in a calorie deficit, we want to keep it as small as possible. So over time, we're losing fat. If our calorie deficit is too big, we're going to start burning muscle, and that is not what we want to do. A common mistake a lot of guys make when cutting is having their calorie deficit too much. They might be 1,000 calorie deficit, and what that actually does is it starts to burn the muscle, not just the fat, which obviously we don't want to do. We want to keep as much muscle as possible and burn the fat instead. I would suggest being in a 200 to 300 calorie deficit, seeing how that goes, and then you can adjust from there. We also want to keep our protein intake high. This is going to allow us to keep as much muscle as possible because we need protein for our muscles. If we're in a massive deficit, we're not eating enough protein, again, our body is not going to retain as much muscle as it could. We want to be having 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If I'm 180 pounds, I want to make sure I'm having 180 grams of protein every single day. All this does is it allows our body to keep as much muscle mass while losing weight as possible. If you struggle to get your protein in, things like whey protein powder are going to be great. At the end of the day, you can have a protein shake. That way, we're ensuring we're still hitting our protein goal while being in a calorie deficit. We also want to ensure we're still lifting as heavy as possible. Although mentally you think you're in a calorie deficit and that you're going to be weaker, you can actually still lift pretty heavy if you make yourself do it. This will help us retain as much muscle mass as possible because our body recruits our muscle fibers to do this. If we start lifting lighter, our body is not going to need as much muscle. Obviously, you're losing weight. It's then going to start burning the muscle. So we want to ensure we're lifting as heavy as possible so that we can retain as much muscle as possible while on the cut. If you think about it, if you're in the gym and you're in a calorie deficit and you also start lifting lighter, your body just doesn't need as much muscle mass as it once had. So instead, keep lifting as heavy as possible. Try and stay as strong as you were at peak bulk. Obviously, you might not be as strong on some lifts. For example, massive compound lifts like squats, bench, deadlift, things like that, you are going to lose strength. But in isolation movements, things like bicep curls, you should be able to retain that strength pretty easily. Cardio is also a big factor to take into consideration when losing weight. Obviously, cardio is a great way of getting rid of extra calories so that you can eat more. But if we're already in a calorie deficit and you're already a naturally skinny guy, you do not want to do any cardio. Personally, I didn't do any particular cardio when I was losing weight. Decreasing my calories was enough. However, if you're really fat, if you're a bigger guy, then cardio might be good for helping you lose that extra weight. I would start small. Start with an incline treadmill walk, maybe 20 minutes after your workout. If you start losing weight too fast, you can cut the cardio out. If you're not losing enough weight, you can increase the cardio. But start small. Over time, you can build it up. We also want to be realistic in how much weight we can actually lose. You don't want to go crazy and start losing 2 kilos every week. Instead, we want to lose ½ kilo to 1 kilo a week. Anything more and you're going to be losing too much weight. It's not going to be healthy and you're going to burn too much muscle. And of course, the objective of us cutting the right way is to keep as much muscle as we can while losing fat. So obviously, we want to take our time with it. We don't want to go in a giant deficit and start losing 2 kilos every week. Aim for 0.5 to 1 kilo of weight loss a week. This is exactly what I followed to go from 85 kilos and bloated to 80 kilos, fairly lean with a good amount of muscle mass and maintaining most of my strength. Of course, as I said, in things like compound lifts, my strength come down a little bit, but in isolation movements, I pretty much kept all of it. I retained as much muscle mass as possible, and I went from looking bloated and fat to fairly aesthetic, fairly lean, and overall, I felt way better. I coach guys to do exactly this because cutting the right way is the difference between keeping our physique or losing it. Obviously, we've worked hard to bulk up and get strong, so the one thing we don't want to do is ruin it when we cut too fast and lose all of the muscle mass. If you need help on your journey, whether it's accountability or you're not sure what you're doing, click the top link in the description to work with me. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments how you found it, and I'll see you in my next video.